I, for one, did not anticipate this waiver claim deadline to get out of control. But here we are with the Cleveland Guardians, the 5 games out in the AL Central. Cleveland Guardians on August 31st saying, screw it. We don't got to pay these guys other than what's left of their salary. We'll take the risk. Forward we go. The Cleveland Guardians. On the thumbnail, you've got Lopez and you've got Giolito, but also word is out that they have also claimed Matt Moore. So they bolster the bullpen. They're bringing in Lucas Giolito, which, hey, Lucas Giolito with the Angels was not good. That may not be all Lucas Giolito's fault. That may be on the White Sox pitching coach, the Angels pitching coach, the Angels philosophy. That may not all be on Giolito. He may go to Cleveland. If there's a team that you trust Lucas Giolito to go to, and then all of a sudden be pitching really well, wouldn't Cleveland be one of those spots? I think it would be. There's a handful of teams, and Cleveland makes out like a bandit here, because they were sort of off the radar. Of the teams below 500 when all of these irrevocable waivers things went down, the only 2 teams below 500 that you could see really doing anything was Cleveland and San Diego. And San Diego, because, well, they were going to go, they're still going for it. San Diego thinks they can still win something. Cleveland, I figured the -9 run differential, the 5 games out. But look, here's, if you're Cleveland, you're looking at it this way. You're saying we're 5 games out. Do we think Minnesota can hold the lead? And the answer to that is no. They think they can get it. Bo Naylor is crushing balls. J-Ram's been hitting the ball hard. This Cleveland team, now they have not gained any ground on Minnesota over the last 10 days, over the last week and a half to 2 weeks, but they obviously feel like August could be different for them. So Cleveland has a big day today, and we're going to get into that. We're going to get into some of these other moves. I'm not sure if we're still waiting on moves. We know the Reds have claimed Bader and Renfroe. Randall Grichuk has cleared waivers, which means he is still an Angel. We had Ohio. So this is coming up all Ohio to this point. Randall Grichuk was the only one not claimed, so he will remain with the Angels. I'm just going through here and seeing what else we got. Well, Michael, I don't know if we all kind of forgot how this works, but this has always been the thing. It's just we didn't do it. I don't think we did it last year because they moved the trade deadline back, and then the year before that, they didn't do it because of the pandemic. For some reason, I'm blanking on the reason why, but we kind of have not gone down this road in a while. But the waiver wire deadline has been a thing in the past. What I do think is BS, Michael, is that the rule needs to change. If you trade for a player, you are not allowed to place that player on irrevocable waivers for 60 days. I think that should be a rule. What that would essentially mean is you can't do this anymore. What the Angels did, that being this. Because this Angels situation, it looks bad. It leaves a bad taste in the fans' mouth, in that clubhouse, in any player that's ever going to consider going to the Angels ever again. You could prevent this by saying if you trade for a player 68, now you could still waive a player, but you cannot put them on irrevocable waivers for 60 days. And that would, again, prevent any players that are traded at the deadline from going through this process. You would have that player. You would not be able to try to get out from underneath the salary, which is what the Angels are doing. And the Angels are doing that because they know Ohtani's a goner. And Ohtani, you don't want to get a 4th round pick. You'd rather get a 2nd round pick if you're going to lose Shohei Ohtani, right? So you have you can understand why the Angels want to get their salary down. I do wonder, somebody's got to have this. I really hope somebody has this. Dominic Leone is going to the Seattle Mariners. I want to know, please somebody tell me. I'm sorry, Angel fans. I'm vindictive today. Somebody please tell me that Randal Grichuk not being claimed and therefore the Angels having to hold on to Randal Grichuk's salary is going to keep them above the threshold and they still get a 4th round pick. Somebody please. I need somebody to tweet that. That's what I need to know. I need to know if that Randal Grichuk salary is going to be the end game. The Twins come up empty. The Marlins come up empty. There had been an anticipation or an expectation that the Marlins would be a very busy, active team. I'm sure they put in a ton of claims. And considering where the Marlins were in the pecking order, if you're hearing that the Marlins get shut out, then that means that San Francisco, Arizona, the Cubs, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, it's not going their way either. Again, it's Cincinnati, it's Cleveland. I'm interested as to why the Marlins don't get anybody. The Guardians, with 2 fewer wins, get players over Miami. Someone's going to have to explain this to me. Still waiting to see what happens with Clevenger. Word was most of the players had been snatched up. So we're waiting maybe to see what happens with Clevenger. We're waiting to see what happens with Cisnero, if he's going anywhere. Waiting to see if Carrasco is going to land anywhere. That is where we're but man, Cleveland, good for you. I'm 6 minutes into this and I'm late on this. Guys, this live stream is brought to you by the Underdog Fantasy sponsor here on the channel. Underdog Fantasy, check it out. I enjoy playing Underdog Fantasy. You will too. In the description below, you will see the link to hop over there, use promo code Ballcap. They will match your first deposit up to $100, minimum $10 deposit. We're also brought to you by my podcast, the Barreled Up Podcast. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Either search it out next time you are on your podcast platform of preference, or you can snap the QR code right there and hop right over. And also my second YouTube channel, Ballcap Sports 2. So, Cleveland, I got to add. I'm not done. And do you like the hands? I'm trying to have like this 3D jump out at the screen look. I don't know if it's working. So Cleveland on top of these two. Also grab Matt Moore. We're running out of room, guys. We got Matt Moore, we got Lucas Giolito, and we got Ronaldo Lopez all going to the Cleveland Guardians. Cleveland obviously believes in themselves. They believe that the Twins cannot hold this division. There's no shot at the wild card. They are at 11.5 back in the wild card. They believe that they can catch the Minnesota Twins the rest of the way. And why wouldn't you? I mean, the Twins, sorry Twins, you have done nothing to put any confidence in any team, in any of your fans, in anybody, that you can go through this thing. We're going to take a look at the Cleveland schedule real quick the rest of the way. So they just took 2 out of 3 from the Minnesota Twins. And then they've got Tampa 3 games. Then the Twins again. So remember, it's a 5-game deficit. If you can, and this will be at home, sweep Minnesota next week, do you see why Cleveland is all of a sudden saying, hey, maybe we're not out of this thing? So you have a big series for Cleveland against Minnesota next week, Monday through Wednesday. That is probably your defining moment. If you're going to make a move, Cleveland, that's going to be it. Then you have 4 at the Angels. That should be that. I mean, come on. Let's just say something goes wrong in one of those games. That's 3 wins right there. You have San Francisco in San Francisco. That's going to be tough. The schedule's not that easy. You got San Francisco. You have the Texas Rangers, who may be getting back on track. Just took 2 out of 3 from the Mets. You've got the Baltimore Orioles. You've got a Cincinnati Reds team that is also being aggressive right now. So it's not like it's a cakewalk, but they have a little bit of control your own destiny going in their favor with the 3 games against Minnesota next week. And then if they can take care of business with those easier slated games, the Angels, they also get the Royals, they get the Detroit Tigers to close the season out. You can see a scenario where the Guardians may say, let's go for it. I think we can make this happen. I'm going to take a look at the Minnesota Twins schedule, and we'll talk about that as well. So the waiver order does not reset after a successful claim. Luis, it does not. That is new to me. That also seems like a rule that should be tweaked. I do not think you should be able to just grab everybody. And again, maybe in the past, this has not been such a hot topic, but I feel like moving forward, maybe you want to tweak that, because what if another team just decides to do a I'm pissed off player dump? The Twins, the rest of the way, they have the Rangers, they have that Cleveland series, they have the Mets, they have the Rays, 4 against the White Sox, 3 against the Reds, Angels, also A's and Rockies. Minnesota has an equally favorable schedule. If Minnesota can take care of business in Cleveland and then win the series matchups against the Mets, the White Sox, the Angels, the Athletics, the Rockies, the Twins are going to be fine. I think the key element is that slate of games next week. That's it. That's the gambit. That's where this thing could get really interesting, how next week's matchup goes, because they both have a generally favorable schedule, and the Twins with a 5-game lead. Again, here's what the Twins need to do to hold it. Win the series. Obviously, if you can win the series against Cleveland, that's big. But win the series against teams with a worse record than you. Sounds simple, right? But that would be the Mets. That's one series. The White Sox, and that's a 4-gamer. That's another series. The Angels, that's another series. The A's and the Rockies. That's 5 matchups for this Minnesota Twins team against teams that have a worse record than them in the month of September. Cleveland's got a similar, well, Cleveland, I guess you can't really argue that Cleveland has a similar situation. Cleveland may have a slightly more difficult schedule because you would throw the Orioles in there. Again, Orioles, Reds, Rays, Giants. And the Guardians definitely have the tougher schedule, but they obviously view next week as a big, big week. Those 3 games, Cleveland and Minnesota, that's going to set the stage potentially for a interesting close in the Central. Cleveland fans, fuzzy out there wherever you are, has to be pumped up and excited that your team's going. Your team's not done. The team did not roll over. They're making moves. So we have Cleveland going for it with Giolito, Moore, and Lopez. And staying in Ohio, so are the Cincinnati Reds, bringing in Harrison Bader and Hunter Renfroe. And now look, let's just take a step back real quick. Let's not line these guys up as, oh my God, here comes the cavalry. Here are the reinforcements. Because Bader's been up and down. Renfroe's up and down. Giolito's been up and down. Moore and Lopez up and down. So let's not make it sound like here come the reinforcements, but what we know these guys can play up to is kind of enticing, right? You know what Harrison Bader can be. We saw him in the playoffs last year. You know what Hunter Renfroe can be. You know what Giolito can be. You know what Matt Moore can be. So that's where this gets really interesting and exciting, knowing that the peaks for these guys are good baseball players, not playing that way consistently this year. We have word from John Heyman just tweeting right now. This is no surprise. Carlos Carrasco is going unclaimed. so we can forget about Carlos Carrasco. Carlos, goodbye. Carlos is done. Nope, that's not Carlos. That is Gio. Goodbye. No more worry about Carlos Carrasco. He did not get claimed. That is not a surprise. Carlos Carrasco has been really bad. It does not look like the Giants got anyone. At this point, the only players we don't know about, Leon, Cisnero, Clevenger, are the only ones we don't know about. Grichuk did not get claimed. Grichuk passed through. And again, I am hoping and praying that his salary is enough to keep the Angels above the threshold and not get them their second round pick instead of fourth round pick. What is this going on with the Mets? Sources tell me that at least one high-ranking member of the performance staff is believed to have been fired. Huge changes coming all across the organization after what ownership and team officials have deemed as an unacceptable season. So the Mets, a little bit of a front office shakeup. That's coming from Michael Moreno. Not related to what we're talking about here, but still something very interesting. Director of Player Development, Kevin Howard, is looking for a job. Okay, then. That is within the last 10 to 15 minutes. There it is, AB. Yeah, it's interesting. Mets are, again, hey, heads have to roll. I got to think the Yankees are going to do the same thing. So, Carlos Carrasco's not going anywhere. Randal Grichuk is not going anywhere. It's really, and it's maybe the best guy that we're still waiting to hear about. It's maybe the best player that's available based on how they've been performing this year. Mike Clevenger is who we don't know yet. And he's the most interesting one. And if you got to consider, Leon went to the Mariners. Thank you, Jack. That has been buried in my Twitter notifications. So, Jack, thank you for that. Thank you for the donation and making us aware. I agree, Pedmez. That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. That's how the way this used to work is you pass a player through waivers. The player can go through waivers all the way until somebody claims them. And then once that team claims them, that you can try to work out a trade. That's regular waivers. If you can't work out a trade, you can pull a player back. Irrevocable waivers means there is no revoking of the player. That team gets that player. Now, right, like Pedmets just said, and again, Pedmets, thank you for the super chat and that donation. If a player made it all the way through waivers like Randal Grichuk or Carlos Carrasco, then they would be open to the entire league for a free and clear trade. So that is the old way. Elephant in the room. Cardinals are perennial losers, an absolute joke. Guardians were dangerous last year. And with these moves, listen, I'm not saying this is going to turn the season around. I'm not going to say that they're even going to finish still above 500 or get to 500. But they are, if you're a Cleveland fan, you got to kind of be excited that your team is not dead. It's almost like the body's laying there and you're saying your final goodbyes. And then all of a sudden a heartbeat blips on the monitor. It's like, holy shit. Did you see that? Did you see that? We got 3 blips on the heart monitor. Lucas Giolito, Matt Moore, Ronaldo Lopez. Oh my God, it's alive. That's kind of where it feels like things are with Cleveland right now. And Cincinnati, we knew Cincinnati was going for it. Marlins were blanked. Here's what I don't get. Someone needs to explain this to me because the way that I read the rules and saw how this thing works, we're going in reverse order of record, right? Why does Cleveland with 64 wins, a 478 winning percentage? Is that where we're at? We got Miami with, no, hold on. Cincinnati, that's where I'm going here. How does Cincinnati get 2 players with a 511 winning percentage and Miami gets shut out? I guess Miami was not going for these 2. You like the 3? I'm trying to jump out of the screen. That's got to be it, right? It's that Miami did not put the claims in for Bader or Renfroe, which I believe is where they should have gone. At least Renfroe, not Bader, but Renfroe. I think they should have done that. That's the deal. They did not. Cincinnati did. So now we're just kind of wondering about Clevenger. He's the only one. Shane, we don't know that yet. Let me see if anyone's tweeted it, if there's like an underground Twitter account who thinks they know something, if there's any like really shady rumor activity going on. Still waiting for Mike Clevenger. And quite frankly, he's the guy that may be best set up to help a team. He's been throwing the ball really well lately. So is he going to be the guy? Guys, I want to remind you, if you have not yet, please subscribe to the channel. This is what we do. We go live. We talk baseball. When news breaks, when things are happening, we're here to react. We're building a community for you guys. You got the live chat going there. Appreciate you all coming in, hanging out, spending some time here on a... What is today? Jesus. I know today's the 31st. I don't know if it's Wednesday or Thursday. It's Thursday. There we go. Red Sox should try DFA every pitcher besides Brian Bayo. I mean, Pax has been okay. And Cutter Crawford's not bad. What do we do with Mike Clevenger? He's the guy. So let's try. Let's see. Can we, let's do this. We have Carrasco. We have Grichuk as the two. Let's space that out. That aren't going anywhere, or at least they pass through waivers. Pretty sure with the new rules, that means it's just over. There is no movement, so they go nowhere. And let's maybe try to identify that that's what's happening. Past waivers. Cleared is the right word, right? So we have these two that cleared waivers. They are not going anywhere for free. All right, so that's the deal with Carrasco and with Randall Grichuk. We have the Reds with their 2 players. We have the Cleveland Guardians with their 3 players. And again, as far as Cleveland goes, you're in. You're not done. You're still going for it. You've got a big series coming up next week against Minnesota, and that's got to be the driving point because, quite frankly, Minnesota has the easier schedule than you do, Cleveland, the rest of the way. There are winnable games for Cleveland, but there's a chance that Cleveland goes 500 the rest of the way, which would mean they still finish below 500. But if they can get the 3 games from Minnesota, and Minnesota can then, outside of that, finish a couple games below 500 additionally, maybe there's a chance. All you got to do is pay these guys. In Cleveland, hey, a couple $1 million to cover all 3 of them. Why not? So it's Clevenger at this point. That's who we're looking for. We have these 3. And again, we have these 2 that cleared waivers. I can't really see that. Let's put that up here maybe. That's a little bit better. And we're really just waiting on 2. Leon went to Seattle. Let's see. We can do that. I should have already done this. We have Leon going to Seattle, which is a nice move for that bullpen, just adding some more pieces. He'll go to the Mariners. Passed through a lot of teams for him to go to Seattle. That's a lot of teams that passed up on Dominic Leone for Seattle to go for him. Clevenger unclaimed. Is that the deal, Graham? Do we know that for certain that Clevenger is unclaimed? Because we've got a Clevenger and a Cisneros situation. These 2, we're waiting for word on where they went. If they're going anywhere. We don't know yet. We're waiting for a team. CBS reporting that Clevenger went unclaimed. Now, there is some baggage that comes along with Mike Clevenger, and maybe there are teams that did not want to associate themselves with that baggage. That could be the situation. Matt Snyder, CBS. I'm not seeing it. It's probably it's got to be somewhere else then. Graham, if you could tweet that at me, at Jim Riley Live. That is the Twitter account. If you're on Twitter, you can tweet that at me. I don't see it there, and I don't see it anywhere else. Clevenger's the big name still available. Let's see, Bob Nightingale tweeting something within the last minute. More on the shakeup with the Mets front office. Clevenger would have been an interesting one if he were to be moved, because, again, he's been playing some good baseball. Grichuk unclaimed makes me extremely happy. I don't even care about the rest of the day now. Elephant in the room. Yes. It's kind of interesting. Clevenger this year, 6-6 with a 3.32 ERA, and over his last 7 games, a 2.04 ERA. That will help anybody. And with how coveted pitching is always, constantly, for him to not go anywhere, Jesse Rogers is saying that Mike Clevenger went unclaimed. Wow. Why hasn't Jeff Passan retweeted that yet? Come on. What's Jeff doing? Jeff getting a Mountain Dew from the fridge? Mike Clevenger cleared waivers 42 seconds ago. Mike Clevenger cleared waivers. He's staying with the White Sox. Cost was pretty high to have him for a month. And additionally, I do believe his contract, a lot of these players that we're talking about, you were just one and done. They were gone at the end of the season, moving on. But this Mike Clevenger situation, I do believe, was a little different. It's a great point. That's a great question, man. Tom, thank you for the donation. You think about the selling element that Cleveland seemed to be going under, and now to be grabbing pieces. I think there's no way Cleveland could have seen this happening. I don't think anybody saw this coming. So if you're Cleveland and all of a sudden, yeah, the strategy was to move on from some guys, try to think for the future. But if we're not completely out of it, and we can get some guys and we don't have to give anything up other than some money, let's go for it. I feel like that's it. Tom, that's a great, if they still had Bell, they still had Rosario, they still had some pieces in that, in that lineup, maybe you would feel a little bit better about Cleveland making a run and trying to get back into it. But I think it's just as simple as that. Who saw it coming? Who saw the Angels getting all cranky about the fact that they're going to lose Ohtani and they're not going to make the playoffs? So I'm just going to release all the guys. Everybody we just got, get out. Get out of the room is what it kind of felt like happened. 14 likes away from 100. Keep smashing that like, everybody. With nearly 600 of you in here, thank you all for coming in. I do appreciate you. I see you. I am thankful that you are here hanging out. Make sure to subscribe if you have not yet. Again, this is what we do. If you look for reactions and instant reactions, I'm using that word twice. Sorry, it's my first day. If you are looking for instant reactions to live breaking news, this is a good place. Come on back. Subscribe. Come on back next time. Dodgers fleeced to Cleveland for Rosario. Yeah. So I gotta say, for Clevenger to not clear, I'm still trying to find Clevenger's contract situation. Why am I not seeing it on Fangraphs? So there is a $12 million mutual option for Mike Clevenger, but I think it's even more than that. I got to look up Spot Rack. It's more than just a mutual option. Because that's the thing. Giolito's gone. Bader's gone. Grichuk would have been gone. These players that we're talking about, this haul that Cleveland just brought in, they're all gone. The 2024 mutual option for $12 million also includes a $4 million buyout. So you're taking on the rest of this salary, which is light. Which is about $1 million, right? God, I just inhaled and exhaled at the same time there. That was fun. You had about $1 million or so that you have to pay to have him the rest of the way. But then $4 million if you don't want to bring him back next year. So for that reason, he clears. That's the reason. Jesse Rogers stating that in his tweet that is why we see that. So the only moves we're going to see. Anybody hear anything about Cisnero? I'm still not seeing anything. He's the only other guy, really. Anybody hear the rumors about Josh Donaldson and the Brewers? That's not a waiver-related thing, but that's just kind of interesting. Evan Woodbury tweeting an hour ago, and this was 2 minutes after the deadline. Evan Woodbury is a Detroit Tigers M Live Media Group. He is saying, he tweeted at 1:02 that Cisnero is leading the relievers out to the bullpen. He's still a Tiger. So Jose Cisnero has to have passed through waivers as well. So that's it. That's the deal, everybody. That's the movement. Let's talk about it now. Because it is interesting. Cleveland again. The thought process to sell at the deadline. Bell and Rosario. We are over the light goal, everybody. Thank you, guys. To sell at the deadline and then pivot here at this waiver deadline. But again, you can't crush them for it because at that time, you're making the best decisions based on the information at hand. And the information at hand is, well, that's the market. This is the asking price. We're not going to pay that for these guys. We're not. So let's just move on from some players, and that's that. And then today, or earlier in the week, happens, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of guys available, and they snag them. I'll say this. There are two things I don't like about this whole thing. I do not like that the Angels, after trading for players, giving up prospects, can be so reckless. The prospects that you gave up. Now, they're trying to get down under a financial threshold so that they can get a second-round pick when Ohtani leaves. Not if. I'm done saying if. It's a when now. When Ohtani leaves, they want to get a second-round pick, not a fourth-round pick. All right. But you shouldn't be allowed to do it this way. It just it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth that you can, out of nowhere, just dump salary like this. It's the new rules. And this is something, there's little things that you should just put in the back of your mind and hold on to for a couple years, because when we get back to the CBA again, inevitably, unfortunately, I have a feeling this could be a thing. So, or one of the things that will somehow find its way back onto the forefront is the ability to just, with the financial incentives and this and that and draft, and the draft has been just destroyed with all of the stipulations that they put around it. It's terrible. So you have an Angels team that I don't like that you can just release guys. I need a rule that you have to hold on to the players for 60 days. So if you trade for somebody in May and you want to go down this road, or you need to place somebody on irrevocable waivers, but you traded for them in May, okay, that can be fine after 60 days. I don't want you to, I don't like it I don't like it after the deadline. I don't like it after you gave up those prospects. It is reckless. It sets the franchise back. It's just bad. It's just wrong. So I need a rule to fix that. And I also don't like, maybe this is the fantasy sports player in me. I feel like after you make a claim and get a player, you should go to the back of the line. Now, we don't usually have and this is again part of the Angels element here, you don't usually have a slew of players dropped like this. Think about if the Angels didn't do this. If the Angels were still were a respectable organization led by, let me put it this way. If the Angels were led by respectable people, then they held on to all of these players. Maybe they put maybe they put Renfroe on waivers, but outside of that, they held on to guys, right? You would have had Bader. You would have had Clevenger. You would have had Carrasco. You would have seen a very small amount of activity today. You would have seen like 2 or 3 guys because Carrasco cleared, Grichuk cleared, Clevenger cleared, Cisnero cleared. Outside of that Angels 6, we saw Bader go to the Reds. And that's it. So, more to it. This is usually not a thing. So having those waiver rules really didn't have as much of carry as much weight as it did today, because there's usually not that much activity to be had. And today there was, because the Angels dumped 20% of the team on irrevocable waivers. And therefore, if you're at the back of the list, like Cleveland was, you had an opportunity. And if you are looking at what Cincinnati did by grabbing Hunter Renfroe and Harrison Bader, that is telling you that Miami did not put in a claim for either of those 2 bats. San Diego did not put in a claim for either of those 2 bats. San Diego just lost Jake Cronenworth to the IL. Why would San Diego not put in a claim on one of those bats? Why would Miami not put a claim in on a bat? Obviously, Garcia keep getting hurt, struggling. Like, why not? Because for Cincinnati, it's 69 wins to jump you. That means you didn't put a claim in on those guys. So really, Miami and San Diego, you have to scratch your head at those moves. I don't think Boston had the option to get their claim in before the Reds. So it was really Cleveland in the driver's seat. San Diego with 62 wins. San Diego could have made a lot of these moves, but chose not to, which is something to take away from this as well. That San Diego at 62 wins and a .463 winning percentage could have had the ability to grab players before Cleveland. And San Diego sat on their hands. Interesting, right? Interesting that San Diego, after not trading pieces at the deadline, after appearing like they're going for it, maybe the St. Louis series was just like, okay, we're done. You can't do it anymore. I can't take this. We're 3-7 over our last 10. Just as we're supposed to be firing things up, we got an easy part of the schedule here against St. Louis. We lose 2 out of those 3 damn games. Screw it, we're done. We're not even going to put a waiver claim in on any of these players. Because I could have seen San Diego going for Giolito. I could have seen San Diego trying to bolster the bullpen. I could have seen San Diego grabbing Hunter Renfroe, especially with Jake Cronenworth going out. Did the Giants do anything? This seems right down Farhan's alley. Jim, they did not. They did not do anything. That's it. This is it, guys. It is Cleveland grabbing Lucas Giolito, Matt Moore, and Ronaldo Lopez. It is Cincinnati grabbing Harrison Bader and Hunter Renfroe. And then after that, it's all players that cleared. It is Carrasco, Grichuk. We can add Clevenger to the list of players that cleared waivers today. Cisnero clearing waivers as well. These 3 cleared waivers. Grichuk's head's just huge. The picture's too close. We had Leon. Dominic Leon went to Seattle. So those are the moves that were made today. The only non-Angel was Bader that moved. Clevenger doesn't go anywhere because Clevenger, there's too much money involved. Clevenger, you're going to have about $1 million, give or take, for the rest of the season. And on top of it, $12 million mutual option for next year. And if you decline that, you're on the hook for $4 million next year. And you would rather invest that $4 million on a player next year than a buyout of Mike Clevenger. So that is why I see that. MSM, see, and I understand. So this is where Cincinnati, they had an opportunity to grab Clevenger. They obviously passed on that. They had an opportunity to grab Leon, because for Leon to make it all the way to Seattle means nobody was grabbing him. You had a Reds team that could have, they just did not evaluate or place a valuation on the players that were available as anyone that could help them with their arms. Now, as soon as Cleveland grabbed Giolito, that was it. Cincinnati didn't have a shot. Think about the teams that did not grab players here. Again, San Diego and Miami. San Diego would have had the first crack ahead of Cleveland. They did nothing. Miami would have had a crack at those bats that went to Cincinnati. They did nothing. It was expected that Miami put a healthy number of claims in, but I have a feeling Cleveland cut them off. And then you had the Reds make the moves that they made, but they didn't add any pitching. They move on from Clevenger. If you're Arizona, let's talk about Clevenger for a minute. Yeah, Yoki, you're kind of going down a road I want to go down right now. I know. Why didn't the Giants claim Renfroe Grichuk? Great question. When you have a team like, I'm sorry, the Giants should have grabbed Clevenger. There are teams that could have used Clevenger and could have used Grichuk. And for them to, I understand Carrasco not clearing because Carrasco hasn't been good. But Clevenger and Grichuk need, I understand the financial, I understand the money, the $4 million next year for Mike Clevenger. But if you are the San Francisco Giants, I think you could use them. And I think that $4 million, you should part with that. You should be comfortable parting with that. If you are the Baltimore Orioles, I know how that owner operates, but shouldn't the Orioles maybe be comfortable saying, hey, let's do it? I know it's $4 million next year, but gives us a better chance to win this year. And as far as Randall Grichuk goes, you've got the Giants. The Blue Jays are dealing with a ton of injuries right now. There are teams that are on the board that didn't do anything. Yoki, I mean, exactly. There are definitely some teams here that sat on their hands and didn't do anything and could have done something. We're only 4 likes away from the like goal, everybody. Make sure to smash that like now, 3 likes away. And subscribe if you're just finding us for the first time. If you are in search of instant reactions to breaking baseball news, is a good place for you to be. Make sure to subscribe as we push forward towards 40,000 subscribers here on the channel. Would love for you to join up and be a part of our community. Tom, Artie Moreno, and Perry are the epitome of how not to run a baseball team. And the White Sox is a toxic organization. Anyway, I'm glad Mike is out of there. Yeah. No, I'm with you on that one. The Angels, it's a mess. My condolences to that Angels fan base. As far as the White Sox go, you're bringing in Chris Getz as your new GM and SVP. Maybe there is a new culture that Chris Getz can cultivate there and change. I got to think you're going to have a new manager in Chicago. I can't. How? I think you'll probably have a new manager in Chicago, one and done situation. A new general manager is going to want to bring in his guy, or he could get a year of leeway, I guess, and hold on to him, and then have an opportunity to replace him after the 2024 season. But why would you waste a year? Why would you waste a year of Luis Robert? So the White Sox are in an interesting spot there, and they're stuck with Mike Clevenger. And quite frankly, for $12 million next year. Again, Clevenger's got some off the field baggage. If Clevenger's playing the way he's been lately, $12 million would be a steal for a pitcher that gives you that kind of performance. Again, Clevenger this year, 6-6 with a 3.32 ERA over 18 starts. Over his last 7 starts, a 2.04 ERA. over his last 7 starts. You mean to tell me that wouldn't help a team down the stretch? And I understand maybe you have to be out $4 million for nothing next year, or you're in on that $12 million for the next season. I mean, okay, I guess. I know Gio was bad, NS, but I will say this. Sometimes you blame the player, and you rightfully blame the player. But there are things happening behind the scenes that we don't know about. That clubhouse, that coaching staff, how they wanted him to pitch. I mean, look at Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn goes to the Dodgers and all of a sudden is starting to throw his cutter less, which by run value was his worst pitch this season. But the White Sox still had him throwing it. And he starts throwing the 4-seam fastball more with the Dodgers. And all of a sudden he's 4-0 with the Dodgers. And it looks like Lance Lynn, the Bulldog Lance Lynn again. So sometimes there's things happening behind the scenes that we don't know. Lucas Giolito may have gone to the Angels. The pitching coach was like, well, I want you to do it this way. And Lucas Giolito was like, okay. And it wasn't right for him. And now Lucas Giolito is going to go to Cleveland. And again, if there is a franchise, an organization that you could expect, hey, he's going to get him and they're going to fix him. He's going to be on track. This is great for Cleveland. This is great for Lucas Giolito, because if Lucas Giolito now can pitch strong in September, he can salvage his market for the upcoming free agency period. This is great for Lucas Giolito. Guys, thank you for hitting a like. We're near 200 now. We're only 14 likes away from 200. Can we get to 200 in the next minute? Smash that like if you have not yet. Can we get to 200 likes in the next 60 seconds? I want to see if we can get that done. Garrett, you're pretty sure that Getz was in on the hiring. Well, if he was, then there's no problem. There will be no manager change. Only 3 likes to go, guys. I want to remind you too, while we are here, I want you to make sure whenever we wrap this thing up, leave with a link either to subscribe to my second YouTube channel, Ballcap Sports 2. Ooh. Secular, thank you for that super chat and for your comments, your thoughts. I'm telling you, Clevenger would have been good for somebody. Money, even with the money in mind, he would have been good for somebody. But make sure to subscribe to my second YouTube channel, Ballcap Sports 2. There is a link below. Subscribe to my podcast. You can use the link below. You can use the QR code, or just next time you're on your podcast platform, search up the Barreled Up Podcast and subscribe. And definitely check out the channel sponsor, Underdog Fantasy, promo code BALLCAP when you get over there to have Underdog match your first deposit up to $100, minimum $10 deposit. So waiver claims are in, and it is going to be an interesting run now for Cleveland and an interesting run for Cincinnati to see how they can play. Secular again. I'm with you on. I'm with you on the whole Clevenger thing. Will this release off hurt the Angels signing free agents in the future? Mike Jones, I truly believe that yes, it will. I definitely believe that it will. Guys, I hate to do this. I want to stay and talk with you longer, but I got kids getting off the bus at the bus stop around the corner, and I got to go. Dad life. It's what I got to do. Guys, thank you for coming in for Waiver Claims Live again. Breaking baseball news. You want to be here, so make sure to subscribe and turn those alerts on so you know when we go live. That's it for this one, everybody. Thank you for coming in. Thank you to everybody, the super chats, the donations, the new members, the new subscribers, everybody that participated in the chat. Ballcap Nation, I salute you guys. Thank you for coming in, hanging out with the channel, and I'll catch you guys next time.